Hello, and welcome to Ningyo Bingo, where you keep on collecting dolls but never seem to win the game. I am here, noticing an item with an address in the background that has been now flipped appropriately to hang out solo while I craft. Yay! So here I am doing the thing. I didn't announce this on too many channels, so it's just gonna be like a little solo get together here. Oh, I guess I should have edit this. I forgot to. There we go. I'm bad at announcing things for this, but that's okay. It doesn't matter that much. I have chat capture going on in the background, which should be fine. I don't expect that much chat right now. Anyway, Pizza Sauce has decided to get up because I'm making noise, too much noise for his liking. This is also fine. Immediately in front of you, because I'm never satisfied with my camera setup, is a different camera setup, because IKEA now has a fun little arm that used to be just part of one of their normal kits for one of their normal kit items for their lights, but they're now selling it just on its own for use in streaming stuff. So you could, with their kind of gamer zone stuff that they're releasing recently, so you can put a camera on it, you can put a microphone on it. It actually has different connector. Actually, I can show you. Wait, I can show you. Let's see. Big center too. Yes. So this is what is holding up the camera, which is directly above it, which is perfect. And in the back here, you can see it actually will hold a 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, or 5/8 inch with this little adapter. It either goes on one way, or the adapter goes on fat way, or the other way. So I had a little trouble taking the adapter off, and it's now thoroughly stuck onto something else that I managed to take it off with without hopefully terribly ruining the threads on it. Maybe they should have thought of that. Put some wing nuts on it or something. I don't know. But yes, this is holding. This is a camera. This is holding. It was falling down. It doesn't. The wing nut that holds right at the end is not so powerful. It's more designed for something dangling down than otherwise. So we're trying it. So today, as the creepy legs off to the side might be hinting at, I have a girl that I've been working on. Right now she has a broken finger, which I will work on. But this is Arachne Rachnera, highly inspired by the Monster Musume Everyday Life with Monster Girls anime, including the design on the back. So I will show you now, and I don't know why my web browser is not capturing. Should be over here somewhere. Frame application audio. Was I setting up a different scene? Why? We'll just do this again from scratch. This is fine. Web browser open. Properties. Okay. Now where is... Oh, it's underneath everything, that's why. No? Hello? Web browser? This has not been kind to me today. Why would it be nice to me? And I really thought I had everything all set up and ready. You know, maybe gold standard properties. Okay, there we go. We'll just take this over here for the moment, make sure I'm above it. Okay, so I had this journey. This is this lovely model. It's not only a 3D animated model, it is also actually a doll. So has lots of lovely pieces and heads and things here with the true 8 eyes that an arachnid would have. And it is by this artist, Fennywolf87. This is done in the style of the Cabot BJD, which is where I started this journey, because the Cabots are done by the artist. Let's get there quickly. Aelith Art, which I've mentioned in the past. And a lot of their Cabot items are able to work across and cross-pollinate each other, so you can make all sorts of delightful chimera. Because of this, I ended up with the model of Spidery, which should be on, if not on this page, on the next page. Let's see here. Trying to go fast and my brain is just, aha, yeah, okay, so here's Spidery. And upon seeing Spidery, I saw my friend with their phone while we were at D&D, and they were, and I saw a delightful spider lady on it. And I said, hey, if you like spider ladies, I literally just got a file. This was last like October, I guess, because Spidery was a release for October last year, as well as the zombie head. I'm like, I can make you a doll with that. They're like, sure. So as I'm starting to work on this and consider it and consider the pieces, I realize, well, looking at Arachne, let's find her really quick. Ah, good, the wiki. First of all, she has 6 eyes, which is interesting, but also just a more human face, and her entire lower torso is actually that of a spider. I won't say her entire lower torso. There's some interesting things going on with how this anatomy works here, but you get the idea. So I was like, maybe I can modify a few things, make the face look a little closer and stuff. From that, I have since developed and sculpted this head, which is now up on 3D Cults, and these hands, which are now up on 3D Cults, to better match the Arachne from the anime and manga. Hence, we are now at this point with this girl. Now, there's one problem, which is she is currently naked. We need to fix that, and just to find what my friend wanted. Oh, come on. There we go. There we go. So, this is our goal. Let me get my window back in here just so we can make that bigger for a moment. So, while not a kimono proper, this is kind of like wa lolly, like Japanese style, but lolly style. And this is my goal, but it's a little hard to figure out how to make this proper. I have a pattern, but the pattern is kind of like one of those things where it's like how a person who has sewn European patterns for their whole life would interpret a kimono, which doesn't quite make sense. So today we're gonna have Billy here help us out with the I won't say the proper way, but a fast and more accurate way to create a kimono. Now, for arachne, let me just bonk. Obviously, we're only going to need it to be a kimono from here up, and from here down, it'll be a skirt. So I won't need the full length of the kimono, but whatever part I don't use, if I make it a little long, I can always fold it up or hem it down, or it'll become part of the thing. Oh heck, I think I actually have a person in chat. Let me make that a size I can actually read. Let's see. Let me use this. Oh yeah, it's the Barbie Witch, and I can actually read you at this size. This chat, I made the tiniest thing in the world. Holy crap! Why did I do this to myself? It's because that's all this room I have, apparently. Well, okay then. At least I can see when something happens there. We'll figure that out in post, I guess. But, yeah, I love the Artists for Cabets. They have their own Discord. We often chat. The two heads that I showed, the heads and the hands that I showed over here. This is a remix of the Cabot anime head. And this is a remix of the Octo hands from Cabot, which is what she is currently using. So yeah, that's where we're starting. That's how we got here. My little tiny project, which was going to be just print out an existing file that I already had, became buy a whole other file, then print this whole other file. Hi, J. Louisa. Thank you for stopping by in such impromptu notice. It's just me. It's going to be me screwing around with learning today. So yeah, cool. Hi, guys. Sorry the chat's so small. I don't know how to make this better. Maybe bring it to the top of the frame. Is it going to look terrible? Probably. Likely. Whatever. It just is what it is. Oh my god. I guess I can remove the multiply. Property of this. Oh, whatever. At least I can read it. It's kind of terrible. No one cares. So, to save my phone, I can leave the chat on but pause the things there. So, yeah, that's how we got here. And now I am here. So, Billy is a recommendation to me by My Lady's Estate. Brain. And I keep trying not to pause her on this terrible moment in time in this video, but it wants to be here. So we're gonna watch this together and pause at certain moments to take the required measurements we need to draft a kimono pattern for Drider Arachne. So here we go. Let's see here. Gosh, no. Come on, Chrome window capture. I'm just going to make that so big. Yeah, I wish I could just put a block there. Ugh. Where am I at? This one. It's called chat. Chat capture. Properties, filters. Oh, okay. Image mask blend. I can just undo that. Yeah. Close. Oh, somehow it didn't do anything. I don't know. Oh well, not going to worry about it. All right. And we begin.
A kimono is not the hardest sewing project, but also not the easiest. But I still think it's pretty fun for sewing beginners. In case you're here for the first time, my name is Billy Matsunaga and I'm a fully trained and certified kimono teacher and stylist. I have said this in many videos before that being a kimono teacher and stylist and being a kimono tailor or sewing teacher are two totally different things. It's two totally different certificates. By the way, being a kimono tailor is a national exam, not for kimono teachers, by the way. So we kimono teachers know the theory, how to make a kimono.
So this is an interesting point, just culturally. A lot of cultures have this concept of an exam, especially when it's some sort of art that upholds what they consider to be cultural heritage, because they don't want people saying that they're upholding the cultural heritage, but then essentially making derivative work or something. It's one thing to understand the how the concept is supposed to work, and then making derivative work and knowing that you're full well doing it. And it's another to take what is exactly like the methodology of creating a cultural craft and continuing that exact craft exactly as it has been, as a living encapsulated time capsule of art as it had been in the current modern era. I'm guessing I don't have access to the built-in side tab for China Fence. Okay, I do, but it's just my screens are very full. I do have the chat. My screens are just very full, so it's easier for me to just do it on a separate device. It's so silly, but you know, it's whatever. So that's just that side note. And it's interesting to say that, hey, dressing in kimono, I forget which she said is which, but one of them, creating kimono versus dressing in kimono, and one of them you actually need like a test to be certified in, which is very cool. I think that's very neat. I didn't know that before watching a little bit of this video earlier today. Okay, continuing. I know this is like a 47-minute video, but hopefully we won't need maybe all of it, just enough to get through things. Oh, and that background noise. That background noise is Pizza, guilty as charged, playing with the box for the IKEA arm. I should have probably closed that off, but he has now inserted himself into the box because in true cat form, if I fits, I sits. And it seems this is true. Well, all right, continuing.
But most of them, or most of us, can do it practically. And luckily, I love sewing, and I started to learn how to sew a kimono 5 years ago. Yes, it's already 5 years, and I'm still super bad at it, but it's so much fun. I'm not planning to take certificates in that or anything, so I actually don't want to consult anyone about sewing kimono, but I think it's fun to have you with me on my sewing journey. On Instagram and Twitter, a lot of you are actually messaging me about why wouldn't I make a video about how to make a kimono, and I thought, yeah, it would probably be fun to make a video about a very simplified way to make a kimono, because I found this in a catalog for carnival costumes.
So, yeah, cultural representation of different cultures as the exotic within things like carnivals, Halloween, etc. is trouble. Hence, let me see if I can just quickly get some images into this video over here from my Discord. These I actually showed earlier within the general chat. If I open this and I say open in browser, aha, it should pop up. Wonderful. So this is the from an old-fashioned, no, Hataidal, January and February 2007, created this this pattern. And this pattern was kind of nice because a lot of people had access to it because they did a printing error in the magazine and they misprinted the size of the SD, I think it was, size of the pattern. So with this pattern, the entirety of the arm was sewn as you would a Western garment. You can actually see that on the image in the bottom right of this excerpt from the magazine. And in addition, as you can see, the arm here is flared out. That second image from the top right. Can you see my... Yeah, okay, there we go. You can see how it's flared out. So it's actually more like a bell sleeve than it is a true kimono sleeve. And when I was looking at Ragnara, I wanted more of a true kimono sleeve. So I went through all this trouble to figure out which magazine I had, because I have a lot, guys. I have several years of magazine. Let me show that, I guess. I have several years of doll magazine, everybody, and I needed to narrow that down, and I found it faster than I had in the past, which was great. But yeah, I needed to figure out why I didn't think the pattern would work for what I wanted it to, because I didn't want the flare sleeve. I wanted a true kimono sleeve. So hence I started to look for some images online. I found a German website. I'll link that quickly. I don't know if it was German per se, but I found this website. Does it have... Oh, whatever, accept all. Which kind of shows kimonos and derivatives. Once again, talking about derivative work and understanding that it's derivative work. But it also talked about how to create a traditional garment and how to use the measurements and how all of that works. To which I mentioned and showed to Sandy within the Ningyo Bingo Discord server, link in the description of the YouTube video. And with that, they told me about this one. So this has a million pop-ups. I'm going to close that out. I'm just going to go and quickly grab my water because I left that in the other room and I'm talking a lot and that's a problem. And then we'll continue the video. One moment. You happy, buddy? Here, everybody can see you. You're a star. Baby. I need my water. Water is better. I got a lot of the Volksnews magazines, and the buy them, they sell them for worth it. Oh, I was debating those, but it makes them like take up more room, and I'm like caught between it making it pretty and making it take up more room. But it would be really cool. I'm actually looking for somebody for some information from like 2007 on one of those ones. Oh, Barbie Witch, have you not seen the binders? Okay. We will digress a moment. Volks USA store. Binder. So this is what it looks like, and it's quite cool. And it's specifically designed to hold your Volksnews. It has like, it only shows one picture here at the moment, but it has like little bars in it. I forget how many bars in it, but the metal rods, almost like a library, the bars are designed to go within the page of the book to prevent it from going out, but it compiles them all, and look at it, and it has, you can put the range of the dates on the side here with a label maker, and it says Volks News on it. It's so cool. Yeah, I wonder if the Japanese site shows different pictures. co.jp. Oh yeah, I forgot it's kind of stuck in this global members mode. Yes, I want to go shopping. Online store, thank you. Yes, I want cookies. Give me cookies. Are we on the store yet? Online store. Oh, Dolphy Dream online store. Okay. Binder. No result found. Volks News. It is having a trouble. Oh wait, here we go. All right, does the Japanese store show a different image or any other images? It does. Thanks, Japan. Okay, here you can see it in use. Can I make it bigger? Well, you get the idea. So you can see that it keeps them all in the nice binder, but you can see all the white space top to bottom, and you can see these metal pieces towards the center, and it is quite cool. You can see how these metal rods work here at the bottom, and that is the binder, and it is cool. Okay, back on task. Bonk, bonk. Now, not to say that, this is derivative work as well, obviously. It has a totally Lolita skirt and things like that. So coming back to here,
because I'm from Germany and we celebrate Carnival, not Halloween. But I think we all know that even Halloween costumes tend to be not really authentic. And the worst thing about this, that this was actually a sewing pattern of a kimono for a geisha. I am not going into detail. Obviously, this thing is harder to sew than a usual kimono would be. So when you're looking for a pattern for a kimono that is easy to make, then this is the video for you. Although I was actually thinking about making a real kimono pattern and then try to earn money with that. But honestly, the biggest difference between wasai, making kimono, and yosai, making everything that is not kimono related, is that Vasai doesn't use any patterns. There is no existent kimono pattern because you don't need it. Because a kimono consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rectangles. And you don't need a pattern to cut 8 rectangles because you can just cut a rectangle. So easy, just draw your measurements on the fabric and cut. A professional kimono tailor doesn't use any patterns. They have some kind of forms or patterns to draw lines onto the fabric. For example, the round curve of the sleeve that is called tamodo. That is actually something that exists in a pattern. But usually they calculate everything down for each customer and then cut the fabric into pieces and sew it together so it ends up with exactly that measurements. But this video is supposed to be fun, so I'm not gonna bore you with any numbers and unnecessary measurements you don't really need when you just want to make an easy kimono, not the really perfect one.
No, please tell me more about not necessarily measurements, but the cool words and specific things that they use in Japan for making it. Please tell me more about those. That's really interesting, guys. It's so cool. Okay, continuing.
But still easy and still authentic. And I'm going to show you what measurements you need and how you get them. This is how a real kimono looks like, but I think most of you know that. First, you need the length of the kimono, which is the same as your height. And you need...
Okay, brief pause. So we don't need the length of the kimono, we need the length of where this kimono is going to roughly end. And because of the derivative work we are doing today. So, step 1, measurement 1 for this lovely lady. She's all wired, otherwise she would be very heavy and it's hard for her to stand up on the legs. However, if you print this doll on PTE plastic, very easy to stand. That being said, I don't I don't have like the right elastic really. It should have been a slightly thicker elastic, but that's okay. So first measurement will be basically from the shoulder, and I'll give it a little leeway to go a little further down. And not to mention we gotta get over the chest here. So maybe we should give a little leeway from that. And let's do this in centimeters because we're doing science. We're doing science, guys, so centimeters. So with that, I'll give myself a little bit more because I know there's going to be seam allowance top to bottom. Let's say that we need it to be 9 centimeters long for our case. And write down our answer. It probably doesn't need to be as long as the back, but she has a lot of chest. All right, resuming.
You need twice your height because the front and back panels are made of one piece that is then folded over.
Okay, so 18
Then you need the horizontal length of the sleeve. That is called yuki. The yuki is the length from the middle of your neck to your wrist. When measuring this, make sure that your arm is in a 45-degree angle to your body.
So this is where oh, come on, that's not what I wanted to do. Donk. Can I move my window just briefly here so I'm not in the middle of everything that's important in this video? Local standard? Yes. Move me up. Very good. So if it wasn't for this video, this would have been my first mistake. I did not realize, because I am not a seamstress, that so when you bend your arm downwards, like when it's flat, like there's this all here, but then this comes out, and it gives you a little extra room for that. And also, when you bend your arm forward, if you have a sleeve on, it's going to bend around here, and you're going to need more here. Otherwise, if you don't account for that arm slightly down, and you don't account for the arm bending forward, when you put your arm down and forward, you're going to end up with a kimono that ends up like halfway through your arm here, and you're going to be showing way too much. Oh my God. So now I understand this. Let's watch through the full explanation.
Probably will need help when measuring this. Then you need a measurement that is called B.
Okay, let's get the arm measurement first. So we will hide this window. We have our lovely arachne. We will place their arm at a 45-degree angle, and we will, let's see, was it like from the, oh, donk, play.
And you need twice your height, because the front and back panels are made of one piece that is then folded over. Then you need the horizontal length of the sleeve, that is called yuki. The yuki is the length from the middle of your neck to your wrist.
Okay, middle of the neck to the wrist. So, with that knowledge, we ride. So I wish my tape measure was actually thinner. It also has this metal piece at the end, which makes it a little hard, but this one's my favorite because it has such a good, like, rubbery feel to it. I don't know how to describe it. It brings me joy. So, oh, cool. You can see the chat right there. I don't just put that off screen. So measuring. So I also get a nice convenient 9, but that's before. So they called it the yuki, which is what I will call it. Yuki. 9 centimeters before seam allowance. And this one's including seam plus extra. All right, cool. Cool. Continuing, let's see what we get.
When measuring this, make sure that your arm is in a 45-degree angle to your body. Probably will need help when measuring this. Then you need a measurement that is called B. Let's call the hip bone's width alpha. For measuring alpha, start and end measuring behind your hip bones on left and right.
My brain just goes boah because what is hip bone? How this do? How be? Is hip bone? It's okay. We're good. I'm sure because it needs to come down to about here, right? And then because we're gonna have the obi right around this part, so we need the widest part to be right around here, and then here is where we're going to have the skirt kind of start. So I think this needs to be the alpha that we are talking about. All right, let me bring this back.
And subtract 15 centimeter from that, and you have B.
Okay, now we're in trouble. we can't subtract 15 centimeters from that to gain B, because now we're in a different scale. So it's supposed to be, isn't it kind of supposed to bisect it, but it's not supposed to be too tight. Huh. We've run into a few problems. We'll figure it out. But let me get the measurement down. Okay, leading our lady over. This sort of section here is mainly intended to be used to access and string the doll, but can be meant with some hiding, used to hose the doll. We will call that O. Oh, of course, this side of it has the smaller increments, right? Like 5.5 centimeters. B equals alpha minus 15 centimeters. Where do you get the 15 centimeters from? We'll figure that out along the way. I could make an estimate by measuring myself and then scaling it down with the scale of the doll. Okay. All right. Some math. Okay, but first, alpha. Alpha equals 5.5 centimeters. So if I were to measure myself from hip bone to hip bone, I get roughly, let's say 38 centimeters self alpha minus 15. Okay, so we need to do 5.5 over 38 is equal to blank x over 15. I think that's how this works. So I think I can do 5.5 divided by 38 times 15. I get 2.17 centimeters to remove, roughly. Now, if I did this right, 5.5 divided by 38, 0.144, and then this one over here, 2.17 divided by 15. Yes, okay. We have done math and we have checked our math, because when you do science, you do your math twice to verify. So, thereby, coming back to this equation, B now equals alpha, which is 5.5 centimeters, minus 2.17 centimeters. If this all works out, and seam allowances are weird, we shall find out. Minus 2.17 will equal 3.33 centimeters. You guys with me? We're doing math. Okay. Yeah, it's it's interesting because I can't just use scale because I don't know what scale she is because she's a weird scale because she's an art doll. So this is a good teaching method of how do you scale items from art dolls from human size. All right, I think we're good to play again.
When you have B, you need A. A is basically your hip measurement minus alpha and divided in 2.
Hip measurement minus alpha divided in 2. Okay. Wait, I thought alpha was... Did they mean the entire circumference of the hip this time rather than just bone to bone? We're trying here. Okay, let's try it. Here is a doll. Let's get, it says a hip measurement. Which seems to be something like 9.5 centimeters. Hip. I don't know why they call it hip rather, well, I kind of know why they call it hip rather than waist. It's a slightly different thing when you talk about measuring a human. So hip equals 9.5 centimeters. So now we go to this equation. A equals 9.5 centimeters minus 5.5 centimeters divided by 2. Please note the good use of math. When you are doing math, if there is addition or subtraction, it's important to note if there is carets here, because that means those need to happen before your division happens. This is how math do. So yes, please note these things. All right, so now I shall do that equation very quickly here. 9.5 minus 5.5 equals 4 divided by 2 equals 2 centimeters, apparently. Is that right? Because I got a measurement that's tinier. That might not be right. We'll keep going. We'll learn as we're going here. All right.
And now that you have your measurements, you already know that you need a huge piece of fabric. I think I purchased 4.5 meters for this video. So when you want to try this just for the first time, or you really just want to have a cute Halloween costume, then I actually would recommend to get old bed sheets in a thrift store. Actually, that is what I had planned for this video, but unfortunately in Japan, thrift stores are apparently not selling any used bed sheets. However, I can't emphasize enough that this video is just a simplified way to make a kimono. The outcome will be an authentic kimono, but it is not the very traditional hand-sewn way to make a kimono.
A brief moment on this, and I have an object to kind of show why I'm a bit confused, and also to show why kimonos are the way they are. I'm so sorry, girl. I keep pausing you at the most silly moment. thank you for your patience. Your patience will be rewarded. Alright, I'm back. Okay, so this is a roll of essentially kimono fabric. I might have gotten this when I was in Japan. This is not cut end to end. Kimono fabrics were done on a set size loom. Thereby, no matter how big or small you were, really, to my understanding, is that a kimono would be a set size. Thereby, the functionality of you folding a kimono and the way you fold the kimono when you put it on you changes the size that it sits on you. And how much you wrap it around you changes how much it shows. Now, granted, if you were a very, very, very large guy, maybe you would have to make some adaptations. But in general, that's why when you look at this pattern, most of these things were set widths or half widths or folds of one standard size width of the fabric, if that makes sense. So when you fold a kimono or prepare a kimono, I will show you that now, you'll note some reoccurring sizes with the kimono. And I might take everything I'm learning here and adjust it to what I understand and put it all together. My mess of a desk right now. Okay. So obviously Billy is adapting this for my camera today. Really just does not want to stay in focus on me. Hello, I am here. I am warm because it is warm. All right. So let's give ourselves some room to work here. Here's an example of one Volks kimono. Please note that when you fold it, the arm over the center, this equals the width of this. When you're dressing someone in a kimono, it's an effort, especially for those of the female nature, to make a person as much as a tube-like person that they can be so that they may fit. When you're folding a kimono for storage, you fold it in this way with the collar like so, and because everything fits and everything's just derivatives of that one width of fabric, it all goes together just like so. I will show you that again. Here you see some threads. I don't know if you can see them, but this nonsense right here is probably due to the terrible nature of Volks at the time deciding to use Velcro for attaching things. So to show this again, here is another Volks kimono. This is one of the nicer ones, which I do love quite a lot. I like how this one fabric looks a nice amount darker on one side than the other. And here we can see also some concessions they make for making a kimono look fancy while not adding bulk that wouldn't look out of scale for a doll. This camera just really doesn't want to focus on me today. So once again, we can see that I've folded it, and this one's a little longer because it's a fancier kind of arm here, but once again, this width equals the width here. And that's how that goes. So they've lined it, and typically you would have layers of a kimono, but this, by adding this little extra pink on the edge here on the collar, which not always would exist, and then by adding this part that snaps, which is not a full thing, you're not adding bulk to the doll. And by not adding bulk to the doll, yeah, I'm sure I'm storing them oddly. Don't worry, I put them on right once they're on the dolls, unless I'm going for something. Which helps reduce the bulk. Well, when this is flipped out, it can show an illusion visually of it having another layer. But if you bulk up too many layers, there's only so much that unless you're sewing with very, very, very fine fabrics, eventually the bulk of the fabric and the seams are gonna catch up with you. If it wasn't for the way this collar was here, I would say it was kind of sort of reversible, but not really. It also has the folks tag here, which is cool. The sleeves, kimono sleeves. Kimono sleeves are not completely attached. You can see right here, there's a little hole here, and it's only sewn, I don't know, a little more than 3/4, 9/10 of the way down, adding this extra piece here. That was functionally because of kimono underwear and things like that. You would need to reach in underneath the sleeve to pull things out and through to go into this area here. So yeah, so I'm gonna have to kind of take my understanding, because I got a little lost in the measurements there, because there was certain concessions made for the measurements that were listed, because they made them under the assumption that they were making them for humans and not driders. That might not be the case for our subject today. So here we are. You fold it in this manner because you then don't scrunch or lose the memory here of the collar. Also, some concessions made for dolls. The bow is pre-tied. Obi and obijime are fastened together for ease of use. You can tell that this is later in the Volks time period because it is accounting for both Mini Super Dolphy and Super Dolphy Meaty, because I believe in you. Focus. Yes. So you see here, there is multiple spots for the hooks to hook onto to account for different waist sizes. And you can see here, there are multiple places depending on how far you cinch it, either a little left or a little right here for that bow to clip onto, which is interesting. The earlier versions didn't have that because it was one size fits Mini Super Dolphy. They only had to take that into consideration later once they discontinued or simultaneously had Mini Super Dolphy and Super Dolphy Meaty. Yay. Water. Wind. Words.
But it gives you a good overview of the construction of a kimono, and I think it is the first and the last time I will do it that detailed. So I think it's still fun to watch when you have no clue how a kimono is actually made. The basic construction of your kimono are two front panels and two back panels. We make them this time of one piece of fabric that will be folded in half to have the front and back. And we first cut open the middle of the front. The width of the fabric is your Yuki plus 4 times of your sewing allowance. The length is twice of your height plus sewing allowance.
Okay, this I can work with. Yuki was, okay, this is starting to make sense. Center to, Yuki was center to wrist, which makes sense. I'm not exactly sure why sewing allowance times 4, but we'll figure that out in a moment. So, bonk. So in our case of our drider, we are going to make this 18 centimeters, we've already determined, and then the width is going to be Yuki times sewing allowance times 4. What is my sewing allowance? I'm never good at keeping things consistent, usually about a half a centimeter. So if I do sewing allowance times 4, that'll be addition of 2 centimeters. Yuki, we said, was 9 centimeters. 9 centimeters plus 2, 9, 10, 11. So this is going to be 11 centimeters wide. And then we are going to bisect it, which means this will be 5.5 centimeters. 5.5 centimeters. Oh, that's actually very perfect because that was in fact the alpha measurement. Huh. This might work yet. 1/4 of an inch. I know. I keep trying to think in centimeters, and I don't use sewing machines a lot recently just because mine has been annoying me. So I've just been like hand sewing stuff a lot. It's so dumb and it takes so much longer, but and if I'm going to start adding inches to centimeters, I'm going to go insane. 1/4 of an inch would be, I can't even tell. Wait. A quarter of an inch and a half a centimeter are kind of close-ish. They're like a decimeter off. Yeah, 6 millimeters. Yeah. It's a millimeter off. So rather than 0.5 millimeters, it is 0.6 millimeters. Right. Okay. I think we're close enough here. Hopefully, horseshoes and hand grenades. We now know what our box is, and we know that this, because it's going to be half, that one is going to be 9, because it's going to be half. We have a box. Let's see what's next.
I start with measuring out my height plus sewing allowance. I mark this out.
Oh, I've seen this part. Move early.
And fold it over at this point.
I guess they fold it in half before drawing the whole square. Let's watch the whole process.
When the two panels are nicely aligned, I pin them together at the 4 corners so they won't shift.
Okay.
And turn the fabric. Then I mark out the width of the first panel we need.
Width, because we're using that fold. I would be so scared of using scissors and hitting the tatami underneath.
Draw a
the way.
line and cut along the line.
Yeah, I'd be so scared of hurting the tatami doing that, but maybe I'm overthinking it. I overthink a lot.
As well as along the bottom of the top layer. I mark out the fold on the top with thread. And iron this fold, as it will be the top edge of the kimono. This edge or fold is called katayama.
Ooh, you learned it.
Then I open up the panel and fold the width in half.
Okay.
Make sure to align it nicely.
Are we preparing to use this to iron in a fold and then cut along
Then you
that
measure
fold?
3 cm from the katayama into the back panel. This
3
is the point
centimeter.
until we cut the front panel open. Cut along the fold.
Hold up, we have a human scale measurement again. And I don't understand. 3 centimeters from... Okay, let me rewind a little. I don't understand.
As well as along the bottom of the top layer. I mark out the fold on the top with thread. And iron this fold, as it will be the top edge of the kimono. This edge or fold is called katayama.
Katayama.
Then I open up the panel and fold the width in half. Make sure to align it nicely. Then you measure 3 cm from the katayama into the back panel. This is the
Katayama
point
into
until
the
we cut
back
the
panel.
front panel open. Cut along the fold.
So it cuts a little into the back panel by 3 centimeters. Probably to make allowance.
So this is what we have done so far.
Oh, okay.
We cut
yeah.
out the first panel.
You can see it right
We
here.
pressed in the katayama in the middle of the panel and we cut open the front. 3 cm into the back panel. The next step can be skipped, but I have decided to insert also this one seam on back and front that is called uchiage. The uchiage is marked out on back and front panel 38 cm from the katayama. And you draw a second line at least 2 cm from the first line. Those are then stitched together.
Is that just
I
for
start out
inches,
with the
or
back
is
panel.
that-
I measure
way
38
to
cm
tailor
from the
line?
katayama and draw a line.
Oh. A lot of things done on kimono were also done so that they could be let out later. So like things like this things that might be viewed as like a design decision could also have actually started as a functional decision to be able to let a person grow and get taller, and then that would let out. So a design like this might be, I'm curious, it might be something that would be like seen on a younger woman's design because you were younger and you were going to grow in, so it had the length there because fabric was expensive. It took a while to make. So interesting. But you take on a lot of fabric just with the fold towards the center of the kimono. Interesting. Okay, but I think we have enough to cut maybe, measure cut. So let's see what we can do here. I have so many things on this desk right now. going to, with my very nice pencil sharpener, sharpen my chalk pencil. And oh boy, now I have a mess of chalk pencil stuff. I should probably put that in a proper trash. Oh, you're gonna go in here for now, guys. Sorry. Cool. So, did bring black fabric with me as well because as I showed earlier, the collar is made of black here, so I wanted that contrasting black to make it pop. I'm hoping to learn some tips on sewing on the collar in a logical sort of manner. My contacts are drying out on me, yay! So we have this lovely floral fabric to try and mimic the vibe. Or am I doing it on a muslin first? I'm not, because I have all of this, and if I get it on the first try, yay, it's done. I have plenty of wiggle room here. No worries. No worries, no worries. A muslin first and figure out the fit and sizing. Oh my gosh, I am not that talented, guys. Well, I'm not that practiced. I'm just gonna YOLO it. I mean, I don't know how many of these I'm gonna make, and hey, we'll go with the expert. There is no pattern for a kimono, right? You just measure, and then you have measurements. Okay, so first of all, we have our overcast serge, whatever kind of edge here. So this is not going to be part of the equation. So how tall are we going this way? Probably much more than tall enough for what we need to do. Folding it in half. And now we shall see. Oh yeah, we have plenty here. I have kimono for days. All right. So I'm gonna kind of use the end here, the two marks, as like a square in a way. Oh good, that's nice and easy to see, that blue. I don't know how much you guys can see it, and my contacts are drying out, which doesn't help. And I think I left my stuff in the car, so question mark. All right. So then I covered up my measurements. Helpful. 11 centimeters is our width. 11. Shouldn't have to worry about being too square about this, because that should be 11 centimeters and 11 centimeters both directions. Alright. I know, I just want it done. I want this done. Okay, and it needed to be, this is where I could save fabric length, because it only needed to be 9 centimeters high. Ayo, okay. So here, I can just fold this real quick. And suddenly we realize how very little of this fabric we will be using. It's here to here. I will pin that. I don't have an iron set and ready with me. I do have this. I did that so the cat wouldn't chew on it. Because my cat likes putting strings in his mouth because he's special and I love him. Bonk. Oh. I should put on like some DRM free music in the background, but then it might clash with the video when the video plays again, so I don't know. Let me try this pin again. Trying to get it so that it doesn't stick out into the area I'll be cutting annoyingly. Cool. Oh, I should. Was that a cat sneeze? That was a cat sneeze. Pin the end of this. Yeah, finger pressing. If it was only for me, I might even just use my hot breath on it. That's how we do. That's how we do in this dolly business. Okay, and I think I should draw. Now they folded it again to get that center line. Do I want to fold it or do I want to? I guess I'll just cut it from here. So I shall now bring out the box of the forbidden scissors. The scissors that remain locked away for all other items except for fabric. Forbidden. These guys, but it might be easier with one fell swoop to keep it nice and even the cut. Yeah. So, other people have time to edit videos and stuff, to do making ofs and everything. I don't know. I don't have time for all that in my life anymore, so I just turn on the stream and I make a thing happen. Donk. Okay, that was a terrible cut. Why did you forsake me, scissors? There we go. Let me cut this edge. And I did that right? I didn't make any mistakes here. It should be 11. Measure twice, cut once. Yeah. Scary. Shizu-san is not doing a show tonight. They're they are paying attention to their family today because their daughter is doing a show. So they are paying attention to the things that matter most right here and right now. So yeah, I am the very chill crafting replacement for Shizu-san today. Perhaps not not quite as hype entertainment, but a chill entertainment. I don't need it to be, I keep telling myself I don't need this to be perfect, I just need it to be functional and to tell the story. Radio. So then we had this. Now next step was to fold it in the other direction and cut just beyond it. I might just go, if that's 3 centimeters, maybe if I just go a centimeter. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to create room for the collar to go a bit beyond the center shoulder seam, essentially. I have had to fight so hard with my brain. Oh yeah, finger pressing worked pretty well. To not I say right before I realize it's starting to be a little less visible. Let me just donk. Alright. Alright. So worst comes to worst, I get some sort of oiran effect if I cut too deep on this center piece here. So we are going to measure 1 centimeter back. Yeah, that should be good. You're going to finger press this. I didn't realize I was out of frame here. Should this be down further so you guys can see a little better? Yarg. So I ruin everything. Hopefully. Focus. Focus. Yes. No. Yes. Maybe. Kind of. Okay. I'm just like using the back of my nail here. And I can see the blue mark where I left it just beyond the center. So here's the center, and here's a centimeter beyond the center. And pull it into here. And I have successfully cut everything that has been cut so far in the video. God, my camera, I would love it. Can I lock this focus? I swear I should be able to. The spring just sprung. It's like rubbing against the thing. Oh, and now the cords. Now the cord's in the middle of this focus. And now I move the camera. Everything's terrible. We're fine. I hate it, but we're fine. Wait, no, I can just kind of, nope. Nope. Come back here. So this one? It's that one. Look, no cord, Mom. And then here, we're gonna make sure that stays focused. Local standard, properties, just configure video, camera control, remove autofocus, apply, okay. It's not gonna do adaptive focus, but we'll deal with that. And then razor camera, which is pretty in focus right now. Properties, configure video, camera control, focus, apply, okay, cool, okay. Let me just actually manually adjust that a little bit. Hey, oh look, there's some numbers I can pay attention to for clarity. Properties, configure video, camera control. Apply, okay. Hey, okay. I like this better. We're doing good. My face can be slightly out of focus, I don't care. But this, we want visible. All right. Oh yeah, cats are demanding. I mean, in the most loving way. Back to our video.
At least 2 centimeters from the first line. Those are then stitched together. I start out with the back panel. I measure 38 centimeters from the katayama and draw a line. And then one line under it.
We're essentially just adding a fold for
this will shorten the kimono. So when you plan to do this step, include this length into the calculations of your first panel. For your info, you'll need twice of your height plus sewing allowance plus at least 2 centimeter uchiage. When I'm done on the back, I also mark out the lines on the 2 front panels. Fold up the center of the 2 lines and pin them together. Sorry for my out-frame filming, by the way, but you get the idea, I hope. Stitch them together. Pressing seams is a little different in Wasai and Yosai. I think it is a small detail that makes look a kimono even more authentic. Usually I think what most people do is you press your seams open so they lay nicely flat and you can work on with that. In Wasai it's different. You actually fold one side over so it covers up the seam and then you fold it back. And you have here just a few millimeters, sorry. It's just a few millimeters overlay. When you have kimonos at home, actually you can try to touch it. There is this little overlay, just a few millimeters, that will cover the seam. And I think it gives it more of a three-dimensional look than just pressing all the seams flat. With the uchiage, I like to put my thumb under the fold. My fingertip is a few millimeters over the seam, where I fold the fabric down and press it into place. This is what we've done so far. The uchiage is stitched down on...
Why has that become a thing? It has to do... a hypothesis, it has to do something with the tools they were using to press the seams at the time, because it would be hard to do that just uniformly. It probably was a part of the tool. I gotta look up more traditional arts of how it's actually actual human kimono are made. Fascinating, cool stuff. My image is totally in the way. Let's go down here, I guess. Yeah, okay.
Front and back. Now we are going to insert a center back seam, so it looks like we have two panels on the back, which we haven't. I folded the width of the...
Okay, which is kind of cool because that also helps reduce your bulk when you're coming to doll sewing. So this is actually a nice thing that they're doing because of the caveat of making a kimono out of Western style bolts of fabric that is able to be adapted well for us for going from a doll sized garment and reducing the amount of bulk and seam and everything that you have and raw edges that you have to worry about unraveling, etc. So this is cool, this is helpful.
The fabric in half and align the two layers nicely. Then I pinned down the fold starting at the point where we've cut the front and back panel open. Pin it together all the way down to the bottom. And sew this in place. Cut then the two panels open where the center back seam ends. This cut should be 9.5 centimeter deep.
Again with the human measurements. 9.5 centimeters deep. Is this to create the neckline still? So if I did, so before it was 3 centimeters, and I did 1. Now we're 9.5. Maybe I'll do 3.
Put the fabric like so on the floor and mark out your measurement A from the center back seam. Mark it also under the uchiage. Turn the fabric and add the same markings on the other side. And finally, you can press the center back seam. Fold 2 or 3 millimeters over the seam and press it down. Fold the kimono at the katayama over and align the panels nicely. Pin them together at the marking of measurement A on the back.
So measurement A was the measurement that made no sense to me. Oh. We'll see what this measurement really ends up being. I feel like it's a approximation of the width of a panel. We'll see where this is going.
Stitch it in place. Make sure not...
Hello, did you perhaps order a Rosam Helper robot?
The Wild Robot is not just the best animated movie of the year.
Do you need assistance?
It's one of the best movies.
to stitch the uchiage into this. Press the seam open. Fold the sewing allowance under it and pin it.
Oh wait. Is this accounting for the difference in the width of the shoulder versus the width around the trunk? Thereby, this method takes up the difference between the two on the seams between your armpit and the ground? Is that what this is? Is that this? I think that's what this is. Okay, maybe.
Stitch over the edge by hand or machine to finish the seam of both sides. I did it by hand, by the way, which took me about 45 minutes. So we have stitched down the back and front panels with measurement A, which gives us the seam under the shoulders, the so-called bakisen. Now mark out the measurement B from this seam.
It was the seam under the shoulders, under the shoulders. What a weird thing to call that, but I think B. No. Oh man. It's an adventure here. So A is from purple line to purple line, which my image is not helping any of you see. So, nor is the closed captions. Okay. So that's A. No, that is A. From center to the difference between that and the, okay. All right. Kind of, so what this seam was that they just sewed and folded under, the purpose of this seam is to make up the difference underneath the armpit from what it is from your center of your back to your shoulder, roughly, essentially. Now, I don't understand if that took up front, back. Ah. We'll keep going.
The bakisen on both sides on the front panels. Cut out another two panels with 15 cm width, and the length is 15 cm smaller than your height. Don't forget to add sewing allowance.
I think this is for the collar.
These two panels are called okumi.
No.
We will now stitch the okumi on both sides onto the marking of measurement B. This will give you exactly this part of the kimono.
Okay.
I marked out measurement B on the wrong side of the kimono. Fold the kimono over. I hope this is focusing. Yesterday when I cut the okumi, I found out that this white stripe, where usually the fabric is not printed, this one is some kind of, but still you have still the holes in there. So on the back you can see this white stripe pretty nicely. This is exactly 1.5 centimeter what I'm using for my sewing allowance, so I decided not to mark this out and to pin this along this white stripe, this edge of the stripe. I'm so sorry for my finger, it's so weird.
Oh no!
I want to use a different finger along this white stripe onto the kimono. If you don't have that, you would actually, I would recommend you to also mark out your sewing allowance on the okumi, which I don't have to do now. So, yay for those printers. Pin the okumi right side on right side onto the kimono.
Okumi, next word of the day here. Congratulations on the sando.
Press the seam. Encase a short sewing allowance into the white one and pin it down, so you can stitch over it.
A brief pause just so we can do a... Let me bring this camera up front and we're just gonna... That's not what I wanted to do. This camera? Yes. Okay.
And finish the seam. So when you have finished off all the seams, this is my okumi seam. I have nicely encased this. Make sure to press this after sewing it, because I usually keep this a little wobbly to finish the seam off a little easier and then iron it later. And you do the same with the side seams and the so-called wakisen, that one that goes under your shoulder straight to the hem. And you might remember that we have kept this open here. I've just sewn to the uchiage until here, because this will be the miyatsuguchi, the opening under your shoulder, which you will need for putting the kimono on. And on the top, this is where the sleeves will be attached. I have a very long yuki, but I'm quite slim, so I have a very short mayahaba. And we have sewed this, so we have a huge sewing allowance here because I have a very short mayahaba, but I need all of the fabric in just a very small sewing allowance here because I need the size of the yuki, which means this part here has to go diagonally upwards. So when you fold the top edge for the sewing allowance we will need, in my case this is 1.5 centimeter.
Essentially what we're seeing here, instead of darts to create the difference between the waist and the widest part, which would be like around your chest or from your neck to your shoulder, this kind of outward kind of bonk is what we're creating on the top while starting from a tube, because kimono fabric is expensive and you want it to all be recoverable, technically is how they did this, so that everything could be unsewn to the original state. Is that they did this roll thing on the hem to create this, to create the difference, and that's how they made it. You could use that under one to adjust this size, and then you use this seam here that we're seeing this roll technique on to adjust that shoulder. Very cool.
And you hold it like this. You can already see that this kind of folds it itself into the measurements you need. I'm pretty sure this will be not the super correct measurements, but doing it this way is so much easier. And then I did exactly what I've just explained. I marked out the sewing allowance on the top, press it down,
Oh, what's that cool little sewing allowance?
created a
thingy?
rolled hem by
Oh, neat.
folding the edge inside, and let the fabric do what it wanted to.
That
I
is
pressed
so
this
cool.
down.
Of course, like,
And repeat this also on the other side of the kimono.
alright.
Mark out 23 centimeter from the top.
Oh my god, again, the human measurements.
This will be where the sleeves will be attached. Speaking of which, for the sleeves I cut out 2 rectangles. Width is half of the yuki plus twice of my sewing allowance,
Half of
and
yuki,
the length is 1 meter and 4 centimeter
twice of sewing
plus twice of sewing allowance. I have already folded my rectangles in half here, and I pinned the bottom together.
Wait, I'm confused as why it's half of yuki, because yuki needs...
Mark out your sewing allowance from one corner and draw the tamoto onto it.
Confused.
I have put this pattern for the tamoto.
I'm confused as why it's half yuki, because yuki was the center of your back. So this is half yuki, but if I do that, there's going to be... Wouldn't there be the wrist showing? Because essentially we would have this plus... We would have the distance now of a yuki and a half. Yuki and a half? No, 2 half yukis to make 1 yuki? Oh, I get it. So it's a half. Yeah, okay. I think I understand. We'll find out. Oh man. We'll see how far we get here tonight.
In different sizes onto my Patreon page for
Oh.
download.
That's cool.
It's a public post, so everyone can download it. Mark out 23 centimeter from the top. Leave this open when sewing later. Plus, the other side will be left open completely as well. To finish the seam, cut down the sewing allowance with peaking shears.
I need a pair of those. Maybe I can find some in the secondhand store and bring them home. Downside of hand sewing is if this does need to be cut down more to make it work, it'll be a
Mark
little
down the sewing
harder to do
allowance
so.
on the side you have kept open.
So we're leaving 20. This
Press
is
the sewing allowance.
essentially what they did was they left this, which was 23 centimeters. Open for your hand, which would be much wider than the need of a hand. It's roughly 2 widths of a hand. Try to figure out how that means for my doll. You know, Harvey, which I do believe certain things here are standard widths and things, and I think some of it is derived again from that standard width of a bolt of fabric like I showed you earlier. I think that might be what's happening. In fact, why don't I measure that bolt of fabric? Because I'm trying to remember. Oh, it's hard to hear me. I am so sorry. Blue ball. Of course I wasn't talking into it, which doesn't help. Lock volume, da 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 da. My input's all the way. I think I was just not talking towards the microphone and not talking up. Was my problem here. So I've done the center seam to simulate the use of 2 cuts, single cuts from a bolt of fabric here. Will this be pressed open, pressed to the side? I'm not sure, but it's going to do a few things for us here. It's going to simulate that look. Yeah, just if I'm starting to mumble, let me know. I'm a mumbly person. I do the Midoriya thing, mumble, mumble, mumble. That is what I do. At a certain point here, my eyes are getting kind of dry. I'll have to run out to the car and grab the glasses that I left in those. Do a nice little intermission in the meantime. Is this doll closer to 1/6 scale or 1/4 scale? I would say much closer to 1/6 scale. Here is she, and here is my Kimono doll. She's actually a little tinier than the 1/6 scale. So now that we're at this point, we can just do a little testy-do to understand what's happening here. So, oh, well, guess your fur wig's coming off for now, honey. So this is draping over like so. We're not altering this width. We are going to cut into this by, that was 1 centimeter, so we cut 3 centimeters into this. Yep. Scary. Okay. If I mess up, I only ruined a very tiny, tiny piece of fabric. I'm trying to understand the way the kimono fold and work. So what they did next was they created a seam here with seam allowance that created the difference between here to here and the waist to the center. Then we sew on an extra piece on the front that creates your full overlap. And yeah, I think it's hard. It's hard to understand. I'm curious how close in scale this is to this fun little printout I did. And honestly, it's not too crazy. So that is your back, functionally. This is our front, and that's that extra piece here that we're going to be putting on, essentially here. Man, my brain, I'm trying. If I was following all the steps one for one, I swear it would make much more sense. It's harder to do this translation. So how wide is a kimono fabric? That would be 35. 30, 35. 35 is what we got here. This would have been easier with this, so I didn't have to do it twice. Yes, it is. $35 long. So like this would be the width of your overlapping front panel, or halves to create that front panel. Everything's this in measurements, and they very seldom cut the center when creating these things. They would fold it all, including, you saw that thing they did at the end there where they just rolled the hem instead of cutting anything there to create a hem. Once again, that all can be reclaimed because it can all go back to the format of a long boy, one long boy unit. Only length cuts, which is just fascinating. I love that. It'd be cool to get like doll scale stuff, but it's like also dolls are not exactly human scale-y in nature unless you get your Eiffel House kind of dolls. So yes, let's see what they work on next for a moment.
And on the side that is still open, press down the sewing allowance you have marked out. Fold then half under to create a rolled hem.
Ah, rolled hems. Very good.
I sewed down my
Our little girl's growing up so fast.
For expanding the place! You know,
sewing allowance by hand.
Pardon.
And also the rolled hem on the other side. Good morning, we are entering day 3. I have just filmed my A-roll, yay! Last night, I have some footage I will put in right now, I think. I have hemmed the bottom hem as well as the side edges of the okumi, and I just did a normal rolled hem and stitched it over by machine, because I remember that I actually wanted to stitch everything by machine. This whole kimono was supposed to be stitched by machine, just to make it easy and fast. Minus 50 points for Ravenclaw, I would say, for being so authentic and just always overcomplicating things. Today I am going to make my very favorite part, which is attaching the sleeves. I love attaching the sleeve for every kimono. It's just
So you can see right here how it's like one length to here, and then it flares out to the attachment. So it kind of creates that sort of trapezoid shape. Ayo. So, okay, I understand that. So I need to make this width the widest width, which is the width of the hips. Actually, technically, like half the width of the circumference of the hip / waist kind of thing that I measured on this doll. Okay, brief hiatus because I need to change to glasses because my eyes are gonna dry the heck out today. Be right back. classes. This cord is still in the way, but that's okay because we are going to be using this one. So we're fine here. Cute. Have a good evening, Barbie Witch. Thank you for dropping by as I learn how kimono do. So to show razor camera, we'll just make these speak for a moment. So essentially what we have to do right now is we added a center seam here to simulate the use of 2 panels, which is great for our play on scale. Then we are going to, they did a cut into this pretty deep. They did 9 centimeters. And I was thinking 3 centimeters. It's almost halfway through. I don't understand the purpose of that. I don't know. I'll have to watch that part again. But I think they did that just a little later because they did the sewing on the side first, I think, before they touched the center. So essentially, rather than curving this or darting this, we are doing a hem, and it'll kind of have a triangle towards the top here to create that polygon quadrilateral that we see there. So what I need is that measurement that I had, 9.5. Here's that weird part, minus 5.5. Okay, it wasn't supposed to be minus 5.5. It was supposed to be minus 9.5 minus 2.17 divided by 2. Okay, I figured out where I went wrong on my math, guys. Heyo. Okay, so that's 9.5 minus 2.17 equals divided by 2 equals 3.66. This makes a little bit more sense. And that's, is that from center? Okay, I think I have to rewind, but maybe we should just play out towards the end and then keep going.
It's so much fun. It's more fun to hand stitch it. It's a little troubling when sewing it on the machine, but I'm doing it by machine and hopefully well. Mark out 23 centimeters from the top of the open side of the sleeve.
Here's that measurement again.
Also on the layer below. Align the top line of the kimono and sleeve. Hold those together and turn the kimono inside out. Let me show you this from a different angle on the other sleeve. Align the tops Grab the two from the inside of the kimono and turn the kimono inside out. Hold the 23 cm markings on all 4 layers and pull the top in place so all layers align neatly. Pin the bottom layers and the 2 top layers together at the marking.
This is the first time
And continue
really
to
had
pin
match
those
something
layers
up.
together. Wrap this opening around your sewing machine and sew it in place. Start at the first marking and sew to the other side. When you're done, make a few horizontal stitches back and forth where your start was. And do the same on the other side. Press the seams after attaching both sleeves. So now that your sleeves are attached, we only have to tackle the trickiest part, the collar. For the collar,
yes,
cut
please tell
out
me
a
how.
2 meter long and about 17 cm wide rectangle. And you need another rectangle that is 90 cm long and 17 cm wide. You don't need to add any sewing allowance.
Hey, 17. What's twice of 17? 32. Once again, going back to that roll of fabric, right? Cool. Ayo.
To these rectangles. Then we have to sew the shorter collar onto the long collar.
Oh,
Mark out the center of the longer collar
oh, this kind of thicker section, doesn't it? I need that here.
and also on the shorter collar.
Also, this is spot on.
Align these two and pin them together. Mark where the shorter collar ends on the longer collar. Turn the shorter collar over and align it at this marking. Pin it onto the long collar and sew it on with 1 cm sewing allowance. Fold the shorter collar over again. And mark out where it ends on the other side. Fold the short collar over again. Align the end onto the marking. Pin and sew it in place. When you're done sewing, fold over the collar again.
So it's like this little extra thickness that helps the collar stay up. That's what's happening right now in the human scale of this project. I understand why they're doing it. We don't need to do that at our scale.
The collar is prepared so far. Now we have to mark out where it will go onto the kimono. First, mark out the point where the collar will meet the seam of the okumi. This point is called kensaki. It is 23 cm from the katayama on the okumi seam. And then you have to mark out the
23, yeah.
diagonal line. The collar will go down the okumi to its end. Draw this line onto the back of the kimono.
Do they actually cut this? I'm curious. Or do they fold it under?
Make sure that they have the same length on both sides. Back to the collar. Mark out a 1 cm sewing allowance from one edge of the collar.
So I think traditionally collars are kind of like sewn on and folded, and then kind of teddy bear stitched to hide it. Make it neat in front.
After marking out the center of the collar and 10 cm left and right of it, draw a round curve between those into the collar. This will be the back collar, and it's one of the 3 places of a kimono that are not sewn straight.
Interesting.
Measure 11 cm from the center of the collar to the other side.
Creates an additional scoop.
And the same
in the
at the
back.
ends of the curve. And also draw the curve onto the other side. About 25 cm from the end of the curve, make a 13 cm mark on the other side and connect your markings with a line.
Nothing else, I'll definitely know how to make a human one by the end of all this. Holy crap.
On the end of the collar, make a 15 cm marking and connect the markings with a line.
So, just very briefly over here, if I make this a 3 centimeter opening for her hand, it's gonna be, she'll be able to fit in, and it would have that much room there. I think 3 centimeters would be fine. I was debating 3.5. With just a little bit more room. That does make it a whole lot easier. Does that seem right scale-wise? Doesn't matter if it's right scale-wise. I don't know, I think I'm gonna try 3. I'm gonna try 3 centimeters. So 3 centimeters is what we're gonna aim for between the opening for the wrist here, and 3 centimeters is going to be the opening for here, essentially. Now you do sew part of the kind of the shoulder in, not the whole thing. So we are going to leave 3 centimeters, so essentially a 6 centimeter circumference available to allow the doll's hand to go in and out. And since there's such a drastic difference of size between hand and arm, it's going to make it look very stark. So I'm going to mark that out very briefly. And then with that, I can finish marking out this seam that I'm going to sew to make my trapezoid here that we discussed earlier. Okay. That really takes a lot out of there, which is very interesting. 3 or 2. No, it's 3.5, and then here go like this, and this should be 3, and this should be 3. Measure twice, so once. All right, getting somewhere, getting somewhere. Haven't. J. Louisa probably just has me on the background. Alright, now I can start playing this again because now I'll have something to sew on listening.
Start pinning the collar onto the kimono with the 1 cm sewing allowance we have marked out first. Pinning the collar onto the kimono is actually the hardest thing, and actually sewing it on again is just awful because 2 pieces of fabric usually don't work very well together when you try to put them into the way they don't want to. It's like a cat, I always would say. So I thought I would just comment while actually doing it, because filming it without talking is super hard, and you will see me also going a lot of back and forth when actually doing this. So what I have done so far is I had the middle of the collar pinned onto the center back seam, like so. And then I have pulled this first left and then the other side, and try to ease this out with pinning it on. And I was always trying to not have a crease here on the back, because when you do it like this with the sewing machine, it is absolutely awful. Okay, this should be fine. Okay, and then I fold this over. You can also see I have cut this lower part because it was a little too much fabric below that. And I fold this over and try to, I use this as an ankle point to pull, and then I try to find the kansaki. It should be around here somewhere. Perfect. And you can see I have tried not to have any ease in the fabric. Those wrinkles here, they will kill me on the sewing machine, I will tell you. This will be super hard to sew, but I think we're gonna give it a try.
For work, play, and every day, upgrade with over 1 million parts and accessories and bring your truck to life. Real truck.
And we're back in third quarter planning. Adams is quarterbacking this project, and she is looking pretty tired, Jill.
She's stuck, Bill, and that deadline is looming.
It looms for us all, Jill.
Wait a minute. She just pulled up Grammarly.
Grammarly is an AI writing partner.
You don't need this.
And now it's easy because from this point to here we have actually marked our line out, which is pretty cool. So basically I'm just pinning the collar onto the line we have drawn onto the back of the kimono earlier.
Which is fascinating because we haven't cut that angle. We have that angle, we're just pinning it onto that angle. So where does that fabric go?
And then I repeated the same steps on the other side.
Somebody should have left more thread for them to tie a knot on. That someone was me.
Then I sewed the collar along my sewing allowance marking onto the kimono. And it worked out totally fine with the first try, which was very satisfying. Sometimes I have to unpick this and redo it 2 to 3 times.
Oh gosh, that sounds miserable.
Press the seam.
Yeah, that full angle piece is still
Press
on
then
there.
the other side while folding it along the marking we have drawn onto it.
So we're pressing down a seam allowance now. Essentially, someplace that we're gonna sew this flat to. Now the first seam that we sewed is the seam that is going to show on the kimono, right? 'Cause that was the outer one. Alright, I think I got you.
Insert another piece of fabric into the center of the collar.
Another piece of fabric into the...
Hold it in place by stitching it onto the seam allowance inside of the collar.
Oh, they're just adding even more stability to that collar by adding this piece in. And this one's just a cotton one, like it's like a yukata essentially, right? Fascinating. Just like,
Trim down the accent fabric of your okumi because
Okay.
this will make your collar super bulky if you don't.
okay, now they're finally trimming that. They don't trim it until this point, I guess in case they need to make any adjustments.
Fold then the collar over and make sure that the edge you have pressed in earlier covers your machine stitching for about 2 mm.
Covers the machine stitching. Oh, because that makes it look neat from the inside. Oh, how thoughtful. I think we can put my camera back here.
Fold also the ends in. When you've pinned it onto the kimono, you can stitch over this by machine or hand stitch it on. I again did it by hand because
Otherwise,
It
your
looks better.
stitching will show through the other side.
and she is finally
Oh, wow.
complete.
That looks great.
Of course, this way to make a kimono is only for women. I will do one for men too one day. So stay tuned.
No, I need it for my guide dog.
So I still hope you found all the information, or at least a piece of information you were looking for when it comes to making a kimono. When you're not subscribed to my channel yet and you want to see more kimono content, feel free to subscribe. I would be very happy when you stick around a little more on this channel.
Everybody, I think.
And thank you so much for watching,
Billy
and I talk to you
deserves a
in
like
my next video.
right
Bye!
there, and yeah. Okay. I'm getting a little tired, but trying to think of, oh no, cancel. Few of these pieces were a little confusing. But doing our best. I'm not sewing underneath the camera. I think we can.
A kimono is not. A kimono is not. A kimono.
Hey,
A kimono. A kimono is.
do you not understand what a pause is? Jesus. Okay. This is fine. I'll bring me to top. Cool. All right. Hey, I think now I can put on a non-DRM music. Go. Yes, this is what I desire.
I use Secret Clinical Antiperspirant. It provides 3 times stress sweat protection.
Do not desire the secret deodorant. I desire the music that lies beyond the secret deodorant. Okay, alright, here we go.
First flight of the orbital Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Perfect, okay. Alright, this is fine.
Discovery's 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
I'm like looking down and my head disappears, but that's the way of things. I'm doing a little back stitch just because it's the way I know how to neatest put in the most stitches by hand with nice tight stitching that won't, if it ever gets caught or snagged or anything or breaks, it won't be immediate doom. Eventual doom, but not immediate doom. Okay, I have the 2 seams underneath the armpits completed. And this is, I think, where they kind of sort of press those open. Because essentially, this is where, on this collar here, this is where we let this go to that 1/2 centimeter to make up that difference. So this was folded over and stitched down. This was folded over and stitched down. Do I need to do that in this scale, or is that going to cause a treble? It's a great question. So I think this is essentially what we will end up with. Bringing that to here, and then it kind of brings it out. Can I do that in any other way? I don't know. Maybe I'll just kind of prick stitch it or overcast stitch it, and hope it's not terribly noticeable on the outside. Just kind of go for it, or do I do a prick stitch from the outside, just enough to keep it in place? If I do that, it probably makes more sense for me to do a single line of thread here, because that will be less noticeable. I tend to wrap the string around my finger and roll it to get my knots. And I lost my thread because I am not used to not using a double thread. Double thread is annoying, but it gets more thread in there, but it can become tangly if you use it for a while. But you don't lose the thread. I've successfully kind of finger pressed this kind of sort of where I want it. So let's just try to do this thing. I'm gonna go here, bring it out, and I'm just gonna do the ever so tiniest little stitch, bring it in, and we're gonna do the same thing again, just a little further up. Does a prick stitch even work at this scale, or is it just too terribly noticeable? Who knows? I think it's serviceable for the scale. Now this is adding a lot of bulk to the seam for the scale though, but so happy happy is if once I finish this and I put it on Arachne, if it seems like it visually makes sense. Trying to get this spot here nice and flat. Tempting.
On your heaviest period nights, try Always Z's 360-degree coverage for worry-free nights. Always.
Yeah.
They like the way you...
Just pause that. I could listen to DRM music, not that I get any like money from any of this stuff anyway, but it's whatever. Just try to pin this portion in place, and then that should help. Goodness, I swear this figured out what it wanted to do, but now I'm struggling with it. Let me just pin this portion at least. I think it knows what it wants to do. Come on, fabric. Yeah. I think it wants to do that. I'll stick another pin in that just to hope and pray that that is what it wants to do, and I'll continue with my little prick stitches. Just kind of trying to let the fabric talk to me as I create this hem that rolls kind of outward to create that shape. Pizza sauce has joined me. Hello, son. Hi, baby. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at doing this on a screen. I really am. Hi, baby. I love you. I love you, but Mommy's working. Thank you. This is where he goes in the other direction. It's like, the direct approach won't work. I'll go in from the side. No, you won't, buddy. It's busy. It's busy over here, son. It's busy. Threaded it again. I knew I'd do this. don't pull that too tight. Problem with this prick stitch is it can very well become just like a stitch you would use to like pull everything together in like a gather if you pull too tight, because it's just a little tiny straight stitch just to keep everything in place without being too terribly noticeable on the other side at the scale that we're sewing in. I just didn't want to, with how little space there is going to be between the seams and the panels, these simulated panels, I didn't want to distract too much from it with other lines of seams for tacking down the inner seams. So I made a decision. Now this part is going to be in a seam somewhere, so I'm just going to utilize that to tie my knot. Yeah. Alright, so I have done trapezoid side 1. So when we look at this from the outside, it does gather a bit of bulk, but hopefully without much knowing we have our trapezoid going that way. Perhaps at this scale it would be better to use some seam glue or something to tack down that, but then it would be hard to do that rolled seam here because part of this is going to remain open for that hand. So here's our test fit. Here's our hand. Does it fit through?
Cats in hats. If that's what you're into, Pinterest is the place.
And the fingers are getting stuck on the roll tin. Is a 3 centimeter wide gap enough to get this hand on without taking the hand off? Survey says yes, but barely. I should have went with a half, but here we are. So we're gonna have about a centimeter, right, for hem here. So I think, and we have that whole front panel that we have going to go on here. So I think this works. I think we've achieved the goal here, because this is going to be a little this way, because the sleeve is going to attach right at the top here. Leaving the bottom half of this open. And I think it's about as nice as we're gonna get it. I think we did it. Now I just gotta replicate that on the other side here. And does it come off the hand easy enough? the beginnings of understanding. Huzzah! With that, it is, let's see. It is a wire in the way. Bonk. Just put that there for now. It is now 20 minutes to midnight for me, so I shall bid everyone adieu. This was fun. I'm going to continue on this project, obviously, because I want to make my friend very happy, so please look forward to seeing the end of it. As I work around the rest of it, I might film more of it, or I might not. But I think we got a lot of the understanding of it and a lot of the science of it, which is the science of making a square thing with only straight seams fit a round thing, which is very cool about how kimonos are constructed and everything like that. So remember, as you're going to Japan and looking at all the fun, lovely to scale kimono fabric that you could sew pretty things for doll floors, remember to keep on collecting dolls, but keep a budget. Bye bye. Have a good night, everybody.